Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. The Islamic Propagation Office at Rabwa, www.islamhouse.com, is pleased to present to you this lecture.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. All praise be to Allah and Allah's peace and blessings be on the last message of Allah. In the previous class, we looked at separation and sexes, Islam being spread by the sword, the idea of Muslims having many sects like Christians do. In this class, actually, we'll be looking at the criminal law, Islamic criminal law, which is generally speaking identified as being particularly brutal, because of the fact that the adulterers were stoned to death, fornicators were given 100 lashes, thieves, their hands are cut off at the wrist, those who are caught drinking, drunk, 80 lashes. These are public executions that take place. So this is what we'll be looking at. But before looking at that, one of your classmates has an issue that they'd like to raise for discussion, and that is the issue of homosexuality. From what perspective do you want to look at it? Okay, from an Islamic perspective on homosexuality. First and foremost, before looking at it, one can look, for example, in Christianity, which precedes Islam, and which Islam holds as being fundamentally the basis of Jesus' teachings were the same teachings that Prophet Muhammad brought. They were both prophets of God, and they found the same basic teachings. And before both Jesus and Muhammad, may God keep the best on both of them, there were other prophets, David, Moses, such Abraham, and they all taught the same teachings. Now in Mosaic law, the law was well documented in the Torah, in the Old Testament, especially the first 5 books of the Old Testament is generally referred to as the Torah. You'll find rulings made on homosexuals. And the ruling there is that it is something sinful. It is something where the person who practices this should be killed. Furthermore, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, which was supposed to be the towns where Prophet Lot, or Lut in Arabic, was a sign that those people were destroyed for their deviation. Sodom, the word Sodom came into criminal law as sodomy. Sodomy, which is considered a crime, actually, even till today in many countries. Sodomy remains something which is known to be something evil, something despicable in society. Literally, sodomy, I don't know, you know what sodomy means? No, probably an answer. I mean, sodomy is basically defined as anal sex. Right? I mean, this is obviously coming from the part of the male. Particularly in the case of 2 males, and then this will be the practice of homosexuality. Right? In the Quran confirms the story of the people of Lot. They're called Qawm Lut. And so in Arabic, Qawm Lut becomes synonymous with homosexual. The word for homosexual that we use is Luti. Right? Which literally should mean a follower of Lot, Prophet Lot, but it doesn't mean a homosexual. And the destruction of the people of Prophet whom Prophet Lot was sent is described in the Quran. It is described there that they preferred relations amongst the male males amongst the males, females amongst the females, instead of male-female relationships. So it's made clear there that it is an issue of homosexuality. This is the crime for which God destroyed the people. So it is looked at as a sin, a crime, according to Islamic law. One who is caught in the act is executed, according to Islamic law. That's the Islamic belief. Yeah, you raised the topic, so you want to. What the modern view, of course, I think we spoke about this before. That this was the general view held by the world up until the last 25 years, when in the West, in particular, in England, in America, especially in America, homosexuals joined in the freedom riot movement. I remember I spoke in the previous class about the Black Power movement, where Black Americans were seeking their rights in the 60s, early 60s. They were burning down cities, demanding their rights. Now, they got, at least on paper, certain confirmed rights for themselves, and following them was the women's rights movement, because they had joined in and supported this number of the groups that joined, and so then their movement came to the forefront. And following the women's rights movement, which was now the late 60s, early 70s women's rights movement, women demanding equal pay for equal work and protection against male harassment and all these kind of things. Then what followed that was the gay rights movement, they call it. Homosexuals in the Western terminology are referred to as gays, like gay. That's the term which is used. There are different slang terms for it. In England, they're called pufters. Where that name came from again. In American terminology, they also use the term fag, or faggot, is the name used to refer to homosexuals. Of course, this is where one has to be also versed in the different terminology, because in England, a fag is a cigarette, right? And in America, a fag is a homosexual. So, you ask if that is a flag, you have to be American, so you can put yourself in a very comfortable circumstance, right? Anyway, the point is that, as I said, in general, society looks at homosexuality as a crime. Homosexuals have to stay, as they used to refer to it, in the closet. There are many people who would pretend to be heterosexual. They got married, they had kids, but really they were homosexual. They had another life, another hidden life, from the society. But in the 70s, they started coming, as I said, out of the closet. More of them started to identify themselves. They were parading in the streets, demanding their rights also. And eventually, they exerted such an influence on Western society, Western politics, that from the medical profession, their illness was removed from the categories of illnesses. And as I think I mentioned to you before, those people who were opposed to homosexuals were now classified as being gay. Homophobic, right? So, beyond that, it also became necessary, in politics, any politician who expressed any kind of opposition. I remember there was one female politician in Florida, I remember her name, but she had expressed some opposition, and the whole country, went haywire over it. And, eventually she even lost her position in political position, and she became sort of lost in the media, no more position, etc. And it became it became such an issue that, as we mentioned before, Bill Clinton had to make a commitment to homosexuals for his election. And this is what you're going to find now, since his time, just prior to his time, from there on in, all of the candidates, all the people seeking office, have to openly give their commitment for homosexuals. Just as they have to openly give their commitment for the Jewish cause, that's the standard. No president of the last 15, 20 years has gotten in without making open his commitment to protecting the state of Israel. That's a part of American politics now. Similarly now, protecting and promoting homosexual rights has become a part of the political scene in America. Beyond that, I mean, of course, if we look at this relative to democracy and the principles of secular democracy, it may seem quite reasonable and quite good. If the masses of the people agree that it's okay, then what's the problem? Of course, from an Islamic perspective, it's not an issue. We don't decide what is right and wrong according to the opinion of the masses of the people. What God has defined as being wrong or evil remains evil. Right? This is something that is unchangeable. It doesn't change according to Muhammad. It doesn't change according to the whims and fancies of the society at any given point in time. So there will never come a time, as far as I could possibly project from an Islamic perspective, there will never come a time where an Islamic society will accept homosexuality as acceptable practice. Now, it may become prevalent, or it may exist in some societies in other forms or different variations, because to be quite honest, in Saudi Arabia, for example, and I can't speak about the Gulf because I don't know the situation here, but I know in Saudi Arabia, there has been over the past years a rise in homosexual activity amongst the Saudis themselves, Saudi youth. I mean, this is not to put down the society or anything like this, because I live there and I don't have anything against society to say, but this is something real, something that's not united. And that may also be the case amongst Emirati youth too, I don't know. But I mean, I know personally because of the fact that my son went to school in Arabic school, he went to high school in Arabic, and he used to come back and tell me different things which were going on in the school. He was approached by other students, etc. Right? And I mean, he made his position very clear. He broke up few noses. In the process, it became very clear to people that he was interested in this kind of activity at all. Okay? But the point is that it was there, on a personal level, but also was there in the society, also known to me in the society, because people also spoke to me about it. Saudi youth, etc., spoke to me about it. And I did see a difference between what was taking place there and what may be taking place here, and that which is in, say, America, right, and England, and other European countries, where homosexuality is in fact really a choice where a person has other options. They could be heterosexual, there are, you can buy women, it's readily available in the society. Free love, as it's called, or free sex, where people have relations without outside of marriage, is prevalent. So when a person chooses to be a homosexual in America or in England, they're doing it, this is a way of life they have chosen. Now, in places like Saudi Arabia, what has happened because of the fact that in the last 20-25 years, the dowries have soared, gone into huge numbers, where the average youth is not able now to get married as he should have at a reasonable age. And at the same time, the society has opened itself to a heavy level or a high level of sexuality through the media. Through the media, whether it be the magazines or the videos or whatever. So there is a high level of sexuality present in the society on that plane. So youth, a number of them have taken this particular route to fulfill their desires. Of course, this is in ignorance and the lack of Islamic instruction. They have taken this route. But the difference is that these same youth, at a certain age, age of the late 20s, when they are finally accumulated enough to get married, then in most cases they give up that activity, they get married and carry on. So it's not a way of life chosen as like, this is what I'm going to be, this is what I am, and it is more similar to the people choosing the route of masturbation instead of fasting, as Islam has prescribed for young people who are unable to get married, and they should fast. Now, others, or maybe many, will not take that route. The fasting obviously is going to be linked to faith. Fasting is going to be linked to faith. Faith, when you fast, when you divide down yourself, food and drink, etc., I mean, it has to do with faith in God. So if as a youth, your faith is shaky, you're Muslim in name or whatever, when these options are put in front of you, then you're not going to keep fasting. So the tendency will be among a number of the youth to choose to masturbate. And that homosexuality or homosexual activity which comes along with it is linked to this kind of choice based on the pressures which are now put on the youth by the society itself. And also, the rise in, for example, lesbianism. There's been a similar rise in lesbianism. In case you don't know what lesbianism means, do you know? Or do I have to define that also? You know? If you know, it's all right. All right, so there's a rise. There's a rise also in lesbianism, because of the fact that, corresponding to the rising dowry, where a number of women are not able to get married, marriage has been delayed, etc., or they may not get married at all. This rise is developing in society. And this is in a response to, as I said, rising dowry. This is one of the major factors. There's also, you could say, in the case of lesbianism too, oftentimes, or in some cases, lesbianism may be a response from bad experiences with males. That males being insensitive in dealing with females may leave bad impressions on those females who find female companionship much more comfortable than male companionship. Do you want to say something? Pardon? Masturbation is considered by some scholars to be haram. By a majority, such haram that dislike something particularly disliked. Yeah. Well, the evidence, there is no clear evidence from the Quran or Sunnah to classify it as haram. Right? What there is circumstantial or deduced rulings in that Allah, for example, describes in the Surah Rahman, Ibad al-Rahman, right? Describing the worshippers of Allah as those who protect their private parts, from abuse or use, except with their wives. So, by saying that, it is implying that any other usage is not an acceptable usage. So they use it as sort of reduced evidence. But I would say in general, we have to say that it is something disliked. Meaning, if you didn't do it, if a person had an urge to do it and they didn't do it, they are rewarded. They are rewarded. God considers that to be an act of righteousness for which you are rewarded. If a person does not control himself or herself and falls into that practice, then it is not sinful, but it is being engaged in something which is disliked to God, and something which could, because the area of makruh, the dislike, this area is an area where a person who involves themselves much in it eventually falls into haram. The area of makruh is sort of like a buffer zone between the halal, the things or the better things and the good things, the recommended, etc., and the prohibited things, the sinful things. Pardon? No, I mean, people give names to it like nikah al-yad, right? This is some of the terms which are used, okay. So such terminology, which means, because anybody doesn't know Arabic, we don't get into the Arabic here, right? It means literally, marrying your hand, right? This may give the impression, right, that it is similar to zina or fornication. That's all it is. Pardon? Huh? No. I mean, the point is that the issue is what? The issue is a question of evidence. As you said, some people say yes, some people say no. In the end, you have to look at what is the evidence. Because the issue, the category of something being classified as haram is not, an arbitrary category where, it depends on how I feel. I feel this way, so I'm going to call it haram. He feels that way, so he calls it halal. No. It has to do, there are principles behind it. There are legal principles. And to classify something as being haram, it has to have been clearly prohibited by Allah or by set it up to see go back. Where did you put the papers, the assessment papers? You gave it all to him? Huh? Include the pencils and the others? Okay, so you can see if it's okay to go and pick it up from registration and do it, or just forget it. We're saying what? Yeah, the point is that defining something as being haram, there are principles behind it. There are principles behind it. It has to have been prohibited in the Quran or in the statements of the Prophet, or some punishment has been assigned to it in Sharia. You know, when assigned to something is haram. Or there is a punishment not only in Sharia in the sense that in this world there is a punishment, but for punishment is defined in the next world. A person is going to be in hell because of this, that, and the other. For example, like interest. Dealing in interest, there's no punishment in the Sharia in this world, in this life world. Nobody's lashed or nobody's, punished for dealing interest in that way. But in the next life, the Prophet described the one who deals in interest as swimming in a lake of blood, you know, and that people will be throwing rocks into that person's mouth, you know, and something like this, huh? So this is the person who is dealing in interest, okay? And also, Prophet Muhammad has said that interest has over 70 branches, and the simplest of the branches of interest is equivalent to incest, to a man having sex with his mother. So that is indicating for us haram, as this thing is haram. So there has to be some kind of evidence of that. Of course, one may question, for example, the case of cigarettes. Okay, there's some difference of opinions regarding cigarettes. Is cigarettes haram or is it makruh? You know, it has been ruled as makruh a long time ago. A long time ago, cigarettes was ruled as makruh. Makruh meaning dislike, as we spoke about. But this ruling was given about 500 years ago. 500 years ago, when tobacco first came to the Muslim world, the Turkey, right? We talked about this before? Yeah. Okay. So, you know, this ruling was made then. Today, we have other knowledge which indicates that smoking causes cancer, and we know then that anything that we take which can kill us, according to Islamic law, is prohibited. So, the ruling of haram is now placed on it. It was not arbitrary ruling. It's a ruling based on knowledge, because our knowledge will change with time. So information about a particular product or something like this may cause rulings to change from being harmless to harmful. Harm is defined or founded. To work in insurance. Well, if the system is a Western style insurance system, then the process of insurance is itself considered to be haram. No, even the insurance of objects, where it is not following Islamic principles, right? Where the insurance is the monies are gained by way of interest. You know, the money is put in banks, and the interest accrued from that is what increases your overall capital, and this is what you're paying out of, then it still remains haram. Well, Prophet is dealing with that, meaning dealing with the interest dealing. Prophet has said that there are 4 people who are similar in sin in the dealing of interest. Right? He said the one who pays it, the one who receives it, the one who draws up the contract, and the one who witnesses the contract, signs themselves as a witness. Well, as I said, if there are Islamic insurance schemes that are available, you do it through the Islamic insurance scheme. If they are not, and transportation is one of your basic needs in society, right? Where the society obliges you to deal with interest through this insurance in order to use the car, then you do it to that degree. So what you do is when you take out coverage, for example, if you don't take out full coverage, you don't take out full coverage, you just take out the minimum. What is the absolute minimum coverage that you can take out to fulfill the requirements of the state with regard to this? Okay, anybody have any other comments they want to make with regard to previous topic, homosexuality? Okay. Good. All right, take your break. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Now, the next topic is, if any of you didn't have any particular other topics you want to raise, I'll go on to the topic of crime and punishment. crime and punishment. Huh? Did you have another topic you'd like to interject yourself? No? Okay. Okay. This is an issue which is important to you all. We look at it. This has to do with the issue of images, the Islamic prohibition of images. Generally speaking, those looking at Islam from the outside look at it as being very conservative in this matter. There is the idea of taking images and having images. Especially those who are classified, quote unquote, as fundamentalists, who are against the issue of images. Now, to understand the issue of images, one has to go back to the previous topics in the laws which were stated by Prophet Moses, which is supposed to receive from God. It's called the Ten Commandments. Among the Ten Commandments is a clear prohibition of making any images of any living beings. In Prophet Muhammad has said that the one who will receive the most severe punishment on the Day of Judgment would be the picture makers, al-musawwirun. He described them as receiving the most severe punishment on the Day of Judgment. Right? And they will be told to put light into the objects that they had created. Okay? Of course, they will not be able to do so. It will be a means of humiliation. They will be humiliated on the Day of Judgment, in that they will be commanded to bring these things to light, and they will not be able to do so. Now, Prophet Muhammad also clarified why there is this prohibition on the making of images. He stated, explaining there's a chapter in the Quran where reference is made to idols that were worshipped. Wad, Suwa, Yahu, Ya'u, these names are mentioned us to read the Quran and came across them or not. Anyway, the Prophet explained that these, which have become idols worshipped in the time of the Prophet, were originally good people, righteous people in the time of Prophet Noah. The time of Prophet Noah. They were righteous people who were known for their righteousness. And after they died, Satan had come to the people, to their community, and suggested to them to make images of these people to remind them of their righteousness. They were suggested to them to make images, statues, etc., and place them in the places where they used to sit. The gathering places, meeting places, places by their graves, places by the areas that they're known to have contact with people. And with this rationale, that when they do it, and they would see these, it would remind them of these righteous people, and thereby remind them of righteousness. And they did it. And in their time, it used to remind them. They would see the images, they remember the person, and be righteous. However, generations later, when the people, the generations that came afterwards, didn't know what was the purpose any longer of these objects, but just that people gather by these objects, adore these objects, and leave. Satan then came back and introduced to these people that these objects were really worshipped by your forefathers. And it was because of their worship that the rain would come, the crops would be fertile and good and so forth. And so the people began shifting from adoration to actual worship of them. And this is how idolatry began. This is what the Prophet explained. So from that, we can deduce that the prohibition, the primary prohibition of picture making is because of its relationship to idolatry. And this is factual. If you go around the world today, the various pagan systems in the world today, you'll see that they're all using images. Whether it is images of animals or images of people or whatever, it is about worshipping images. So, yes. I'm going to go into the detail of that. So we're just looking at it initially, how it was in the past. In the past, it was carving, it was painting, drawing, statues. These are the images. These are the main images in the past. Okay? And it is on the basis of this that it has been prohibited in Islam. It has been prohibited in Islam. And why we don't have in our places of worship any images, and traditionally in Muslim homes and Muslim architecture, etc., images didn't play a role. Images of living beings didn't play a role. Trees, our use of flowers and things like this in different designs, motifs, etc., there was no objection. But when it came to animals, creatures, there was a prohibition across the board. Now, in modern times, and this is also why you find if you go to a synagogue, which is the Jewish place of worship, temple, they don't have any images of people or animals or anything. Three of them. And in fact, for many years after the time of Christ, the use of images in worship for Christians was permitted. And there was a particular period in time that they had what's known as the iconoclast movement, where those the struggle between those who wanted to use images and against those who didn't. Eventually, the image, those who favored the use of religious images, won, and then they started using images of Christ on the cross, Mary, the saints, etc. It became a heavy focus on images in worship. Became a focus for worship in Christianity. But in the initial stages, it was prohibited for hundreds of years.
The reason behind these things is just to remind people, because a person nature is that we forget only this, there isn't only anything, but we see it makes people believe more. But the thing is that people are not going to have a vision of what you believe. They are also, when they want to pray for something, they just go to the picture of the prayer, They have to believe that this is the picture, this is the person
In Christianity, especially Catholics and others, is widely used. They have pictures of Jesus, images of Jesus, and they worship as these religious things.
They go to the Catholic, like put some money for the poor people and they're suffering for whatever reason they have. So this is the main idea behind it. People who didn't use the right way of it, they didn't have it the same way. This is why they were convincing the other people that they were doing it for the same. This is how it is.
Yeah, well, the point of the matter is, eventually they won because the empress at the time supported those who were for the use of images. That's why they won. Not because the argument defeated the others, but because they had military might behind them, and their movement became. Anyway, the issue of images, whatever people's intent are, you see, intent doesn't make something which is prohibited permissible. This is a mistaken approach that people take. If God prohibited this thing, we cannot come along and say, well, I have a good intention, it is for this purpose and that purpose. No, it is prohibited, it's prohibited. Finish. Now, what is presently an issue amongst Muslims, the Muslim world, is whether photography is included now in image making. This is what the issue is. Is our photograph only a technological advancement in the making of images, or are they in another category? Some scholars hold that it's just an extension. You see, in past times you did it with your hand, you threw it like this, now you press a button and you produce the same thing. You know, it's just a technological advancement in the process of making images. You know, just like, for example, you know, you can design a computer program where you punch in and make an image on the computer, and then that image is transformed, you know, connected to a machine that can carve or can mold, and it will make an object just like what you made, you know, on the computer. Even though what you're putting in on the computer originally are just zeros and ones, you know, in the end it comes out with an image. So they judge it according to the end product is an image of a human being or an animal or whatever, and this is only the technological advancement. Other scholars, actually the majority, hold that this is in another category. It is more similar to mirrors, an image in a mirror. And even those who prohibit, for example, photographs, in general, they tend to permit television. They will permit the images which are portrayed on the television. So the fact of the matter is that these images, if they go on film, it's really still images that are run at a particular rate, which gives the illusion of movement. So in the end, it's all one. The issue is, what is happening in the process of making a photograph? That light is captured on paper, right? Treated with certain chemicals, etc. And the image which is there, the actual image, the image which is actually there is passed through a lens, caught on the paper, and that is produced. What is on the paper is what was out there, basically, and a copy of it. So the human hand is not directly involved in this process. Where a photograph is retouched, they use an airbrush. For example, take a picture, or a passport picture, and they use an airbrush, and they remove your pimples and dimples and things, and, you know, now you're looking very smooth and, you know, whatever. Then this becomes a painting. It becomes equivalent now to that painting, the drawing is similar. It's no longer in that other category. Now, the question arises, you know, why in modern times people, even those who are actually making images, carving, drawing, Picasso, you know, Rembrandt and things like this, why should we consider these things to be haram? Well, the fact of the matter is that if the people idolize the way that people look at it, you know, Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa, I think, the way, well, they don't pray to it. They have, you know, worship can take many different forms. The point is that if you tell one of these art lovers, right, the average art lover, you tell them, listen, you know, the Louvre, the museum in France is going to burn down, right? You're in there, and there's this Mona Lisa, and there's a little baby, everybody's run out. You can only take one, right? Which are you going to take? They'll tell you in a minute, I'll take the Mona Lisa. Right. Well, because baby, you can always get another baby. You can't get another Mona Lisa. True. And if it becomes that way with anything, then that love, that kind of love for that thing becomes forbidden love. And painting and drawing, these arts, they invite people to that. And if you listen to how the artists speak, what their goals are, they'll tell you, you know, I want to create something larger than life. They'll put it like this. larger than life. Being larger than life. Something greater than what actually exists. There is that desire on their part to, create, issue of creation. And it captures people. And it turns into adoration. So the point is that photographs is, for the majority of scholars who hold that photographs are permissible. They're fine as long as they're kept in a particular status, not of being elevated to adoration. Where they come up as posters now of your favorite pop star, which is plastered on your wall, and you idolize, then it becomes not forbidden. If you take photographs of your parents, you blow them up, put them up on your wall, and they become big images for adoration, then it's also forbidden. Adoration to be adored, oh, look at that, this kind of attitude towards it, huh? Yeah. Now, what a nice picture, what a nice picture. People come to your home, you want them, you bring them over to look at it, I'm telling you, according to Islamic law, to set it up on the wall, to put it up to be seen, etc. According to Islamic law, this is prohibited. Because the adoration of these images leads ultimately to forms of worship. They become worship. If you look at the image of Khomeini, look at the image of Khomeini in Iran, where Khomeini's image is everywhere. It becomes an object of worship to the people. That is, but you see, one is taken to the final end. The point is that, in an Islamic perspective, things which will lead to it, we stop them. Well, you don't have to put it on the wall to see it. I mean, if you keep it in an album, okay, hold on a minute, please, people. How does this prevent the angels from coming in the home? Prophet Muhammad, may God keep us upon him, said that the angels will not enter homes in which there are images hung and dogs. There are images hung and dogs. Well, I'm telling you what Prophet Muhammad said. Huh? I didn't know this. This is saying this has nothing to do with prayer, not non-prayer. This is just what the Prophet said. No, it didn't say that. It just says that angels, and this is, as they clarify, this is the angels of mercy, okay? These are the angels of mercy that may accompany you. And these angels will not enter the home where their images hung and dogs are kept, okay? But angels that record your deeds, recording the deeds of your prayers, they're with you. They're there. Okay, what's another issue you want to talk about, Captain Dawson? Okay, I will finish on images first before we go into another topic. Hold on a minute, please. I will finish on images. Okay. Ask the question in images. Go ahead. No, because these are not carvings of human beings or animals. No, but what has been specifically prohibited is living creatures, animals, and human beings. It's okay. Picture of the mountain, scenery, buildings, drawings of buildings. Permissible. Yes. If it's in an album, it's out of the way. It's not given. No, it's set up. It is set up with a thing behind it, propping it up, It's a form of hanging. It's a form of setting it up for business. No, it's not an issue. It's not an issue. Come on. We're going to discuss it. Go ahead. Be quiet, man. Yes. You're talking what I'm talking about. Yes. Please. The point is in terms of images of worship. The issue is not for a person to say, I am not worshiping it because, for example, I would say, okay, I want to get, I went to the Far East, when I was in Thailand or I was in Cambodia, and I found a beautiful statue of Buddha. Right? Buddha, right? Buddha is the object of worship for the Buddhists, right? It's beautiful. I really like it, so I'm doing a visit to my home, I'm keeping my home, not to worship it, but my intention to worship it, but it's just for decoration. As the statue of Buddha? No. So the point, when I try to understand the reasoning, try to give you a line of reasoning, right? The point is that keeping that statue, this is an object of worship for other people. For you to keep it in your home for decoration is not acceptable. It's prohibited. Even though your intention is only decoration and not worship, that act is prohibited. So you don't use your intention to justify what has been prohibited. What has been prohibited is the hanging of images. So keeping toys is legal objects. Yeah. Yeah, you shouldn't. You're not allowed to keep it. As a child, toys are allowed to you, up until puberty. After that, finish. That religion is only given to children. For grown-ups, it's not. No. As a child, playing with it, okay, it has purpose. Yeah. To keep them as decoration, etc., as an adult, it's not permissible. It's not permissible. Huh? As an adult, no. No. If it is a toy car, or the point is, it's just like, let me give you another example. Just try to follow this, I know you're having a difficult time with it. Yeah? Just try to follow this. In the case of alcohol, okay, alcohol has been prohibited. Now, there are some people who drink alcohol, they get drunk, and they do all kinds of crimes. They cause accidents, they, rape people, all kinds of stuff in the state of intoxication. But then there are some people who only drink small amounts. They only drink, for example, on Sunday with their Sunday meal, they just have a little glass of wine, helps with the digestion. So they say, well, why? Why are you going to drink it for us? We're not using it for these things. We don't get intoxicated with it. The point is that because of the harm that is involved in it, Islam is prohibited right across the board. Prohibited right across the board. Okay? It's the same thing with images. Because how many people in this world today are involved in worshiping other than God on the basis of these images? This is how dangerous the images are. They take so much of mankind into hell. So the point is that this is why it has been prohibited, not by Islam, in the sense that Prophet Muhammad came and he prohibited it, by Islam as understood to be the religion of Adam until today, yes. Prophet Moses, in his teaching, 10,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, it was revealed that these images are prohibited. So believe that this is from God. This is from God. There's a reason behind it. Whether you may have your own life. I like this thing. I feel, I'm attracted to it. This is my hobby. I get pleasure out of it. Hey, it's just about your pleasure, what you get pleasure out of. Because if you're going to use that as your means of justifying what's right and wrong, then what about those other people in the society who get pleasure out of hurting other people or, harming them, etc.? Where do you draw the line? To the point that the line has been drawn by God. If it's drawn by God, then you have to submit to it and accept that it is for the better. The betterment not only of you as an individual, but also of the society as a whole. This is the bottom line. You got a chance now. You got a chance. Go ahead. Well, in terms of yes, that's a good example. But in the case of Syria, you should know in any case that half the assets, belongs to a group called the Muslims. They follow another religion. Yeah, they call them Alawiyin, but they're not Muslims. They're the ruling family. They're their clan, they rule and control Syria. Not the Syrians, of course, are Sunni Muslims, who ask about Muslims. But after his clan, if you go and read about what is it they believe, they believe in a Trinity. They believe that Muhammad was God incarnate, so was Ali, he was God incarnate, and so was Salman al-Farisi. They have a Trinity that they worship. They believe God became, Muhammad was God incarnate. They got another religion. It's another religion. Huh? Maybe so. The term that they use is loosely to cover a lot of different people. But in Harvard after it says their group, they're called the Muslims. Even the Shiites of Iran, the Twelvers, the Ibn Ashriya, they from way back have declared the Alawiyin or the Muslims to be heretical, to be outside even of Shiism. It's only Khomeini who re-accepted them, linked up with them, in the destruction of the Islamic movement in Syria. He re-accepted them in the fold of Shiism. But actually they've been declared as what they call the Ghulam Shia, the extreme branches of the Shiites, which the Shiites themselves consider to be non-Muslims. Forbidden. Yeah, it is forbidden. Yeah, how you gonna do? The Pharaoh and all this. What does the Pharaoh represent? The Pharaoh represents idolatry. Yeah, and for you to take their symbol, it's forbidden in Islam. It's forbidden for you to take their symbol. But what happens though? When you meet it as a souvenir, do you admire it? Yes, you do. Right? You admire it. And what are you admiring? No, but you admire it. But what are you admiring here? You're admiring an image of, but you're admiring an image of paganism. It is. What? Okay, that image which has been created, it's created, that you created. The image which you have created is a composite of other images that you have seen. You cannot create what doesn't exist. What your mind is, what you have not seen with your eyes. This is what when you're as a painter and you put something together. You're going to put it together from things you've seen. So you are creating an image here. An image is built and pieces and parts of other parts of the living part of creation. It's imaginary. Yeah, it's imaginary. But you're involved. You're involved in it. Hold on. People, let's take this one step. Let's take it one step at a time. Come on! The point you're raising, am I trying to convince you that everything that you're doing in your life is haram? No, this is not. This is not.
In conclusion, we ask Allah that He brings you benefit through this lecture. For more information, you may contact us through the following address. The Islamic Propagation Office, Rabwa, P.O. Box 29465, Riyadh 11457, Saudi Arabia. Phone 445-4900. Also 491-6065. Fax 497-0126. If you would like to listen to more beneficial lectures, feel free to visit our website at www.islamhouse.com. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.